All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep this short, sweet, to the point because he's literally just hours away from maybe one of the biggest matches in KOW history. And you know he's training like there's no tomorrow. You know he's being mobbed by interviews. You know he's being mobbed by everybody around the world. But he's been so gracious to give us just a few short minutes. So listen! Further ado here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here from TNT, Wrestle Island, KLW, Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and much, much more. RPD, 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 the natural born fighter, RP Davis, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I'm better. I'm better after that. Nobody gives an entrance. No one gives me an introduction like you. Definitely.
Well, we'll certainly find out tomorrow at the 10th year anniversary show. I know that you've literally got just a few short minutes with us because you are training like there's no tomorrow here. This is one of the biggest matches, not only in KOW show tomorrow night, but I think in the company's history and maybe even of 2022. So the natural born fighter, RP Davis, obviously it has been the feud that we've all talked about here on Sportswire Radio throughout this year. And give us your final thoughts here before you go into tomorrow's huge showdown in the knockout or tap out match with the Ronin, Brian Aidenson.
Yeah, it's a huge match. Firstly, Tom, thank you for having me on the show. I always like to come on. I like to promote the knockout shows. They've been very good to me, and that fan base has become a big part of my own fan base now. So, yeah, I love performing for Knockout. I think they're a great company. This is a huge show, their anniversary show. Not many wrestling companies in Britain get to this sort of milestone. So it's a big honour to kind of be invited to be on it, and in such a big feature match. And as I say, we might not get along. We might not always get along, but Brian Aidenson is one of the best talents, in my opinion, in the country, and he has a style that is unlike anyone else in British wrestling, somewhat similar to me, you could say, and that in itself makes this match exciting. And I'm excited to go in there with Brian, and you know, as I say, with there's been bad blood going into it, but I'm going to try and put that out of my head because I'm showing up on Saturday night tomorrow to win, and that's it.
Oh. Well, we're going to, I'm sure, see, and I want to give a shout out to our very dear friend very quickly, ALP, of course, who says, looking good, fellows, good luck for tomorrow, Mr. Davis. So certainly, I'm sure, get more from ALP at another place at another time. But then, obviously, this match, I feel like, and I said this with ALP last week on the show, it's almost a springboard because I think that the winner of this match is going to be solidified in their position, whether it's for the showcase title or even the world title after tomorrow night. You feel the same way?
100%. You know, I've spoken to management at Knockout Wrestling. As I say, they've been nothing but phenomenal with me since I started there, and the fan base are incredible. And as I say, I love performing for them. But when I came to Knockout, like everywhere I go, but when I came to Knockout, it was always to win titles. You know, I want to add to my own legacy and hopefully add to the legacy of Knockout as well, and be someone who can really genuinely represent them going forward. And I think I've had my chances. I had a chance at a showcase title
against Keenan. Yep,
against Keenan, and I gave more than my own that night. And in my opinion, I nearly had him beat until Brian got involved. And that's led on to this. I was in the Road to Gold tournament, just gone. Mm-hmm. I losing in the first round to the eventual winner, Big Guns Joe, another man who I really respect. But, you know, if he's being honest, he'll tell you that was going my way until Brian's music played. And that slightly distracted. That's my own fault. That's not Joe's fault. That's my fault. That distracted me because he has been on my mind, Brian, when I'm at Knockout, because he's never got over the fact that I beat him on my debut. and he feels like he has something to prove over me. I never did think I had anything to prove to him, but since he's cost me now both the showcase title and the world heavyweight title in the tournament, I've got everything to prove. I've got everything to prove because I want to get back into that position where I'm challenging for them titles again and winning them. And the way I'm looking at it, and it's not an arrogant thing. I don't mean it arrogantly, but I've beat Brian before, and I will beat him again.
That was his basically his debut into KOW, and we saw pretty much we had him on right afterwards, and he basically said a number of different things, and he had his issues obviously with Commissioner Steele, and certainly I kind of feel like then I have to ask. I mean, knockout or tap out, who's got the advantage here, the punch or Brian's martial arts background?
Well, I mean that makes it interesting, doesn't it? It's a great stipulation. I'm not going to lie, Brian is very dangerous. He's an incredibly dangerous guy. He's got multiple disciplines as well in martial arts. He's good with his feet. He's good at kicking, but he's very good with his submission skills and whatnot. So that could all lead to it. But you know me, Tom, I ain't a quitter. I've never quit.
Oh, listen, we've known you a long time. There's one thing I know about the natural born fighter, RP Davis, is don't bet against him.
I've never had a man make me tap out in my life, and that ain't starting on Saturday. So, like I say, one of the major issues that Brian had when we had our debut match, was he felt that I'd used an illegal punch to win.
We spoke about that. He wanted it outlawed. He felt that the match should have been overturned. It should have been, the decision should have been reversed. And he basically pleaded to no avail with ALP and Commissioner Steele.
Now, in my opinion, it wasn't a legal punch. I used a wrestling punch. I've had to adapt to this.
We spoke about that too in the past. No, we have spoken about that.
Adapt to this fantastic sport. I didn't hit him with a boxing punch. I hit him with a Superman punch, which I believe the head of the table uses from time to time as well.
I've heard he copied off you, by the way. I have heard that he was watching your footage and said, you know what? We got to go. Listen, I saw RPD. He was a boxing champion. He was a big star. I got to basically copy him.
If you're going to learn strikes, why not learn it from the natural born fighter?
And the best, I may add, the very well best.
I'm only joking, of course, but the issue I think Brian's going to find here is that punch is not illegal. It wasn't illegal then, but it certainly isn't illegal in this match. And my job is to concuss him, and concuss him I will, Tom. You know, he has talked a lot of trash. He's cost me a lot of things at knockout. He's just been something that's set me back, because I honestly...
Well, he's cost you something that one of the things we've spoke about, as we have a few more minutes, and we're going to go really shotgun here at the natural born fighter, RP Davis, is to the fact that you've wanted a championship in wrestling. You succeeded in boxing. You did what you wanted, and he's really basically been the guy that's kind of stopped you and blocked you from getting gold around your waist.
We've talked many times. There hasn't been an area of combat sport that I haven't won a title at, that I've competed at, and again, that's just facts. I was an unlicensed boxer. I won a British title at 2 different weights of that. I went over to the professional ranks in boxing. I ended up winning an international title before I retired. Then I went into pro wrestling. It's just not in my makeup, Tom, to not want to be the best and to win titles, and that certainly goes for knockout wrestling. When I joined knockout wrestling, they've got such a great history, as the anniversary show shows, and the phenomenal talent that has come through that company, and gone on to really big things as well. You know, that just shows. But I want to be the next guy. I want to, you know, I'm not going to lie or kind of pussyfoot about it. I'll tell you honestly, I want to be the next big name that has appeared at knockout wrestling. And the way I do that, the way I see that I do that, is I win every title that matters there. And that's the plan. But first, Brian Edison. My focus now is on Brian Edison and putting a good performance in, something that the crowd will remember. And more important, because that is the key as well to in my opinion, to kind of progressing. we need these fans in every promotion, but we're talking about Knockout. We need these fans to want me to come back. They need to want to watch me go for these titles and pay money to see me go for these titles and hopefully win them. And that is what I aim to do, you know. And as I say, I am going on about it a little bit, but I cannot thank Knockout Wrestling's fans enough for how much they've got behind me. From the very first show with Brian, you know, they knew nothing really of me, just a few posters that they put up beforehand. They were right behind me from the second I walked out the curtain, and that has grown and grown and grown. And like, you know, the Keenan match, the Big Guns Joe match, you know, they didn't stop chanting. They didn't stop chanting.
How about you and Rick even? Listen, let's not forget about that match either. You and Rick.
Even Rick, well, the Rick one is an interesting one because they were behind me for Rick, but they were behind Rick because they'd known Rick for so long.
It was a match that I kind of think, in a lot of ways, we spoke about this, and I won't go too far off topic because I know you got to go back and train. Is basically that was the match I kind of felt that did pass the torch a little bit to being you're a guy that, you know what, you're a guy that in KOW we can look upon as a top star, a guy that's believable, a guy that can go up in there and challenge and win gold.
It felt like a real kind of shift moment for me, wrestling Rick, because although he has such a history and a history of to be honest, quite a hated history. A lot of people hate Rick at Knockout. There is a massive respect for him as well because of what he's achieved at Knockout, and they know he's won every title that matters there. And so when I went in as like basically a one match novice at Knockout to wrestle him, although they were very good with me, they were behind Rick, of course, because he was their boy. But when I beat them, it felt like a shift. Like them fans then decided that, you know, yeah, this guy could be the next guy for us. He could be our guy. And that's me. That's what I've always wanted to be. That's what I've always wanted to be. So the way I looked at that, I beat a guy who'd won every title that Knockout had ever had, and made possibly the greatest wrestler or the greatest champion that company had ever produced. It's certainly in terms of history, and so that in my mind makes me at that, not at that level yet, but someone who could maybe get to that level, because if I beat him, what does that mean? What I can do in the future?
Absolutely, no question about that here. And before we get to closing thoughts from the natural born fighter RP Davis, I did want to make my two announcements, which I'm sure Mr. RPD will definitely be curious on. The first one, Lucy Simons is back in the house 7:00 Monday night. She's going to basically talk about the show. She's going to talk about the match between RPD and, of course, the Ronin Brian Adenson. And then right afterwards, we're getting the Ronin Brian Adenson, 8:00. He's going to be in the house, and you know we're going to get his thoughts and some. So you're going to definitely want to tune in. We'll have more 10th year anniversary coverage from KOW and, of course, KO_wrestling on Twitter.
Yep. Interrupt there.
What's that?
Can I just interrupt?
You sure? You, of course, can interrupt. You're RPD.
I want to. No, it's a polite interruption, but I just want to. It's more for your listeners so that they can hear. You just made them announcements and they sound great, but I just want your listeners to know that the Lucy interview probably will go ahead. That will go ahead. She's a good girl, and I'm excited to hear what she has to say about the show. I cannot promise you. I'm sorry, Tom.
Ooh.
I'm a big fan of yours, and I would hate to hinder your show, but putting Brian Adenson on your show 3 days after my match is a terrible idea, because for one, I don't know if you'll be able to speak with a broken jaw, and for two, you always surely you close with a winner. You close with a winner.
I am very close with you, but he requested a microphone. I guess he feels confident in his.
He requests a lot of things, but the only thing he'll be requesting on Monday is soup.
So you're telling me Andre Decker I should ask him instead?
The only thing that he'll be asking for on Monday will be soup. So if he
All right.
cannot make it, which I very much think he won't be able to,
Okay.
I will come on again and
All
we'll
right. I'll
talk
tell you what.
about
If he
the
can't
knockout
make it,
victory again.
if he can't make it, I'll bring you back on. If you say so, I'm gonna trust your word. I've known you
Have I
for 2
lost you,
years.
Tom?
I've known you a while.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you the floor then. I'm gonna give you closing thoughts. I know you gotta run, you gotta get out of here. Anything else you want to say to Mr. Aidenson or anybody else coming out tomorrow night? Floor is yours and fire away, Azor. I know you gotta get out of here.
No. Final thoughts. Massive thanks to everyone who's bought a ticket. I know the tickets are going really, really well already. We're on course to a massive sellout, and that's much deserved for Knockout. And the fans and the people who run it, they're great people. So thank you for buying tickets. Thank you for everyone who has supported Knockout and supported myself leading into this. And my final thoughts for Brian is enjoy your night tonight. Don't worry too much about getting to bed early and getting some sleep, because you're going to get plenty of sleep tomorrow.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, short, sweet, simple, and to the point. Let me get to a couple of comments before you bounce. I promise. Of course, Mother Sue. You know Mother Sue is going to be in the house. Good luck, RPD. Love Mother Sue. And of course, we know Mother Sue's going to have some family in the ring. And of course,
love Mother Sue.
And Louise, I know, will be in the house. I have to imagine Louise will be there. We love Louise. And Sarah Dean, I think, is also one of your big fans who might be there.
The team, the whole team, they're just very, they're great people. They're great people, and I love
this guy you might know. This guy you might know, who unfortunately can't be there, but he says RPD. So you might know.
Big Ricky.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
I've just covered him in glory by calling him the greatest wrestler that the Knockout has ever seen, and I believe that.
We spoke about, and I know you got to run for 20 seconds, and I know Rick will certainly appreciate that. I think ALP and I spoke about the Mount Rushmore and KOW history, and of course, we had his name on there. I think it was him, Steele. I think it might have been Taylor West, and I think it would have been Craig Collins. I think that was the four. I think 3 or 4 that we might have had on there. So that's debatable. I'm sure we could talk about that another time, but I know you got to run. So good luck out there. I know you got to go out and do more interviews. You got to train. So thank you as always, my friend. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you'll go back to your regularly scheduled programming. RPD Fighter on Twitter, r.p.davis on Instagram, also RPD on Facebook, and KO_wrestling on Twitter, K_O_wrestling on Instagram, Knockout W on Facebook. Thank you, everybody. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportzwire Radio, and maybe we'll have RPD on Monday after his words, and stay tuned for that, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.